What if I told you that the most compassionate, sensitive, and, caring people you know are often the ones most secretly fascinated by darkness? It's a profound paradox, isn't it? I mean, these are the people who feel everything so deeply, yet they're drawn to true crime documentaries, the psychology of psychopaths, and they even find themselves in relationships with deeply, deeply troubled individuals. A 2020 study even identified a shocking new profile called the Dark Empath. And this fascination, it isn't a flaw. In fact, it holds the key to a profound source of personal power. So stay with me, because in this video, I'm going to reveal the 4 deep psychological drivers behind this pull. And the third reason we'll explore? It will completely reframe this dark fascination, not as a weakness, but as one of an empath's greatest hidden strengths. So, let's begin with the most common and perhaps the most dangerous reason. Point 1, the healer's instinct and the wounded bird syndrome. You see, at their core, many empaths are healers. Their gift isn't just feeling for others, it's feeling with them. So when they encounter someone shrouded in darkness, someone bitter, angry, or destructive, they don't just see the monster. No, their empathy, it acts like an X-ray, allowing them to see the hairline fracture in the bone, the deep wound beneath all that armor. They see the scared child behind the narcissistic bravado. They feel the profound loneliness that's driving the manipulative behavior. And their first, purest instinct is to reach out and heal it. This is what's sometimes called the wounded bird syndrome. They find a broken person, and their entire being just screams, "I can fix this. I can love them enough to make them whole." They're drawn to the darkness, not because they enjoy it, but because they believe their light is strong enough to extinguish it. I remember a friend of mine years ago, an incredibly bright, kind woman, but her dating history, wow, it was a collection of projects. Men with unresolved trauma, anger issues, addictions. And we'd all tell her, "Why do you keep choosing these difficult men?" And she would always say with just absolute sincerity, "But you don't see the good in him that I see." And she wasn't wrong. She did see a potential for good that was invisible to the rest of us. That's the empath's gift. But, and here's the surprising and crucial detail, this very instinct is what makes empaths a primary target for individuals with Dark Triad traits, especially narcissists. A narcissist craves adulation, attention, and a source of emotional supply. An empath, with their deep well of compassion and their desire to heal, is the perfect source. It creates this tragic, symbiotic dance. The empath gives and gives, believing they're healing the wound. The narcissist takes and takes, their wound a bottomless pit that can never be filled. The empath feels drained and confused, wondering, "Why isn't my love working?" The narcissist feels empowered, having successfully used the empath's best quality against them. Does this pattern sound familiar to you? Have you ever felt that magnetic pull to save someone, only to end up feeling like you were the one who needed rescuing? This pull is real, it's powerful, and understanding it is the first step to protecting your own light. Which brings us to the second, more strategic reason for this fascination. Point 2, the Reconnaissance Mission, understanding the threat. Imagine a brilliant military general. To protect their nation, do they only study their own army's strengths? Of course not. They spend countless hours studying the enemy. They learn their tactics, their strategies, their psychology. They want to know how the enemy thinks, how they move, how they attack. Why? So they can anticipate the attack, recognize it when it comes, and build an impenetrable defense. For many empaths, especially those who've experienced trauma or been hurt by manipulation in the past, their fascination with darkness is exactly this, a reconnaissance mission. Their sensitivity, it's a double-edged sword. It allows for deep connection, but it also makes them incredibly vulnerable to emotional predators. So, to protect themselves, they become students of dark psychology.
They consume true crime stories not for entertainment, but for education. They learn the 10 signs of a narcissist, the manipulation tactics of a gaslighter, the emotionless worldview of a psychopath. This isn't some morbid curiosity. It's a deep, survival-driven need to build a psychological and emotional shield. It's their way of saying, "You will not fool me again. I will see you coming this time." They're arming themselves with knowledge, turning their greatest vulnerability into a source of wisdom. But, and here is a pattern interrupt, a truly shocking discovery from the world of psychology that complicates this picture. While most empaths study darkness to defend against it, a 2020 study published in the journal Personality and Individual Differences identified a completely new profile called the Dark Empath. And these are individuals who score high in empathy, specifically cognitive empathy, the ability to understand what others are feeling, but they also score high on the Dark Triad traits of narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy. Just think about that. Incredulously, they have the empath's tool for understanding people, but they use it with the narcissist's or psychopath's motivation for self-gain and manipulation. They are, as some have called them, wolves in sheep's clothing. They can be far more dangerous than a classic narcissist because their empathy makes their manipulation that much more effective and harder to detect. They know exactly which buttons to push because they can feel where those buttons are. This discovery is a game changer. It confirms that the fascination with darkness isn't just a defensive strategy. For a small but significant portion of the population, it's an offensive one. It's a powerful reminder to not only listen to what people say, but to watch what they do with the understanding they possess. We're about to dive into what I believe is the most transformative and empowering reason of all. It's the one that takes this fascination from a defense mechanism and turns it into a tool for profound personal growth. But before we do, if you are finding this exploration valuable, if it's sparking new insights for you, take a single second to click the like button. And if you haven't already, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. It's a simple, free way to support our work, and it ensures you won't miss our future deep dives into the psychology of a meaningful life. All right, let's talk about the shadow.
Point 3, shadow integration, looking in by looking out. The legendary psychologist Carl Jung gave us a concept that is absolutely vital here, the shadow self. The shadow is everything about ourselves that we have repressed, disowned, or denied. It's the parts of our personality that we were taught were bad or unacceptable. For many people, this includes things like greed, selfishness, or aggression. Empaths, more than almost anyone, are often conditioned from a young age to be all light. They're praised for being kind, selfless, agreeable. As a result, they push any dark trait deep into their psychological basement. Anger, unacceptable. Selfishness, a cardinal sin. The very thought of having a boundary that might upset someone else can feel terrifying. Their personality becomes like a pristine, all-white room. It's beautiful, but they live in constant fear of getting it dirty. So, why the fascination with external darkness? Because it's a safe way to look at their own shadow. When an empath watches a fictional villain who is unapologetically ambitious or ruthlessly protective of their boundaries, a part of them is unconsciously studying that trait. They can explore anger, power, selfishness, all in a controlled environment from a safe distance. It's a psychological simulation. They're looking at the darkness out there to begin the process of understanding the disowned darkness in here. And here is the beautiful counterintuitive truth. The goal is not to become dark. The goal is to become whole. The surprising detail is that integrating your shadow is the key to unlocking your power. Acknowledging your capacity for anger doesn't make you an angry person. It makes you a person who can finally say no when you need to. Recognizing your own potential for selfishness doesn't make you a narcissist. It gives you the permission to practice self-care without guilt. This fascination with darkness is the soul's cry for integration. It's the psyche's way of saying,
It's time to go into the basement. It's time to reclaim the parts of yourself you've been forced to abandon. That is where your true strength lies. This reframes everything. The pull towards darkness is no longer a scary, morbid thing. It's a sacred journey of self-reclamation. And this leads directly to our final point, a reason rooted in radical compassion. Point 4, the mirror effect, seeing themselves in the brokenness. Why can an empath look at a person who has done terrible things and still feel a flicker of compassion? It's because of something I call the mirror effect. An empath's ability to feel the pain of others is almost always born from their own past pain. They know what loneliness feels like. They know what abandonment, fear, or shame feels like. So, when they look at a dark individual, their empathy doesn't just register the present-day anger or cruelty, it resonates with the root cause. They feel the profound trauma that created the monster. They connect with the broken child inside the destructive adult. Their own healed or unhealed wounds act as a tuning fork for the wounds of others. This is not an excuse for bad behavior, and this is the critical, advanced skill for an empath to learn. This is the tightrope they must walk. The challenge is to have compassion for the wound without condoning the hurtful actions that come from it. It's the ability to say, "I see your pain, and my heart breaks for the child you were, but I cannot allow the adult you've become to harm me. I see your wound, but I will not let you bleed on me." This is the ultimate test of an empath's boundaries. It requires them to hold two opposing ideas at once, radical compassion and radical self-preservation. It is incredibly difficult, but it is the pinnacle of empathic maturity. Think of kintsugi, the beautiful Japanese art of repairing pottery with lacquer mixed with powdered gold. The philosophy is that the piece is more beautiful because it has been broken. The cracks are not something to hide, they are part of its history, and they are illuminated in gold. When an empath looks at a dark or broken person, they are seeing the cracks, and their instinct is to see the potential for gold. They see a reflection, not of who they are, but of the pain they have known. And in that shared pain, there is a profound, if sometimes dangerous, sense of connection. So, we have these four powerful forces at play: the instinct to heal, the strategy to understand, the journey to become whole, and the mirror of shared pain. This isn't simple fascination, it's a complex, multi-layered psychological dynamic that lies at the very heart of what it means to be an empath. To recap, the intense pull empaths feel towards darkness is often driven by four things: the healer's instinct, the strategist's need to understand a threat, the shadow worker's journey to reclaim lost parts of themselves, and the mirror's reflection of their own pain in others. Understanding this isn't just academic, it's the first step to harnessing this pull for wisdom and growth, rather than letting it lead to ruin. So, I want to leave you with a question. Which of these four reasons resonates most deeply with you or your experience with the empaths in your life? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I read every one. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive. Until next time.